I'm the
resident
Rams guy.
I am. What?
It's just odd that that's just kind of came out of nowhere. You're just a Rams
He
guy.
dumped the Eagles. You weren't going to pull for him if they got to the Super Bowl.
I understand. And you weren't going to pull for the Packers if they got to the Super Bowl, but you were the Packers guy.
You're a Rams guy.
We kind of, as this show as it's happened, oddly, our hearts are all with our AFC teams, but we still have an NFC team on the side. You text occasionally. And so, listen, Jalen Ramsey's really interesting because some people think, listen, when he's healthy and out there, he's still elite. And other folks will say, actually, he is 60% of the player he was 3 years ago. So I do not like him with every team. I do like him with the Rams. You know what I mean? I do like him with that culture, with McVay, a place he has won a championship, that he was highly successful. I think that personally makes a ton of sense. I wouldn't necessarily, just like I was saying, I would like Tyreek with the Bills. I wouldn't necessarily like him in Buffalo. You know what I mean? And I'm just a place he hasn't been, he's not familiar with, and I would imagine isn't super stoked about going to. Like, I always wonder for the guys who have always been warm weather guys. Like he went Jacksonville, LA, Miami, went to college in Florida. Like, I think that a cold weather team, like, he would be not his best self, in one of those places. So I think there's only a select few teams that should be in the market for him. The Niners, by the way, I would think might be one of those teams. But the Rams, I would like a lot.
I mean, I don't think he, like you said, 60% of what he used to be, 30 years old now, didn't make the Pro Bowl last year, first time in like 4 or 5 years. I like Jair Alexander there better.
Oh, just as a straight signing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's young. I think he's younger.
Yes.
And, he's locked down. I mean, I think there were attitude issues, obviously, with Green Bay, but I would rather have him than Jalen at this stage of Jalen's career.
This feels like I would keep my eye on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I agree.
Feels like
a
Cowboys, if they could maybe pay a little more in draft, sorry, I'm going to break the rules, pay a little more in draft compensation to get Miami to pay a little more of his actual salary because the Cowboys have a bit of a financial crunch, I could see that one happen.
Man, I'd love that. That'd be hilarious. I think it's pretty funny if the Rams do trade for Jalen Ramsey, because Colin went on a whole rant about how well run the Rams are. And he used one of the examples of them moving on from Jalen Ramsey. And they talk about how smart they are and how smart Sean McVay is and how they know how to get the most out of players and they move on from them when it's time to move on from them. And, I don't have a strong sense of whether or not someone like a Jalen Ramsey is done or not, whether he's 60% of what he was and his attitude and, is masking some of that and whatnot. And it'll be very similar to what I said about Tyreek Hill, where I do leave it up to a Sean McVay at that point. I do leave it, when you're talking about players that have the potential to be toxic, I'm not going to act like Ramsey's like this, like absolute toxic culture, ruiner within the locker room. Like I'm not going to say that, but in terms of, I think anytime you're trading for a player who's unhappy, who's hasn't necessarily got along with their team, and their production has been inconsistent at best, or even in the decline, at that point it's just question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And so that's when I'm just going to go to the coaching staff and be like, what do you think here? How do you feel about this? What do you think we can bring this guy into the mix? Now there is a difference here because you actually have that established relationship, which makes it now even more so where it's like, what you're getting into. You're going to get a similar version of what you had last time, at least from a personality and relationship standpoint. But what about, all the other stuff? I think it's also important at this part when you're dealing with players of this age and again, what their most immediate recent experience has been within the NFL. It's, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to win? Because he has his ring. He's had his glory. And that's the thing, I think Nick actually brought up an interesting point about the cold weather versus not, and that's the thing, right? If you're in Buffalo, it's like, if he didn't have a ring and he just desperately wanted a ring and he felt that was his best chance to win with Josh Allen, et cetera, well, then I could understand, because then you're just willing to, like, grin and bear it. But if, like, if you're just looking to, like, kind of just, I don't know, but people are there for all different reasons, man. Sometimes they just know that the end is near, but they still just want to ball. They still want to have fun. They still want to play. They want to make plays. They still want the fans screaming their names. Some of them just truly want the stats, the numbers. They either just chase stats or they're trying to build a Hall of Fame resume. Some are obviously trying to win a ring or another ring. Some want the money. It's really hard to predict, honestly. It really is, and that's why you got to kind of talk to them. And you can't just ask them directly. I mean, sometimes you can, but a lot of times it's just like you're talking around it, and you're just trying to get a feel. So many of these types of players, it's like, I just want to talk to you for a little bit. I just want to hang out and talk to you, like, what, and try to get a feel for, like, where are you at in life right now? What's your personal life looking like? How much do you care about ball right now? When you were upset and disgruntled, like, what is the problem? Like, where are you at as a man right now? It's like, that's to me where you start when you try to figure it out. And again, I'm not trying to paint the picture like that Jalen Ramsey is just this, like, this most extreme force to bring into a locker room. But when you have a team that I think is on the incline, like the Rams are, and I think they look at their team as obviously win now. They know Matthew Stafford's not going to be there forever. They feel as though that they played the Eagles very closely. They were literally a throw away from potentially beating them, getting to the NFC Championship. I mean, I think both years they were back-to-back, just a play away from getting to the NFC Championship game. They know Stafford's end is near. They're trying to ride this to the wheels fall off to the very end to try to maximize their ability to win a Super Bowl. If you think bringing in Jalen Ramsey does that and is a difference, because that's the other thing that I'll say. I'll look at a team like the Eagles. I'll look at a team like, kind of hard to say the Commanders, but I guess potentially the Commanders. And then if you're looking at the opposite end, the opposing side, if you're looking at the Bills and the Chiefs, the two AFC Championship teams, if you think, you know what, adding a Jalen Ramsey will be the difference, not that they'll help, but there'll be a difference. Like, that's why I kind of look at it. Is the difference between the Rams beating the Eagles Jalen Ramsey? Yes or no? If you reach the conclusion yes, then you figure out how you can fit him from a personality perspective, and you get him on the team. And it's like, whatever, we'll deal with it later. But if not, if they're like, yeah, I think he can help us, and it's like, of course, well, like, anytime we bring in a good player, they can help us. But it's like, unless it's like a true, like, that would have been a massive difference maker. That is potentially the difference between us winning and losing. It's like, okay, fine. Then I'm willing to just say, kind of like, roll the dice. But you have to reach that conclusion. And like I said, I don't have a strong feel for it. I think it's so hard to evaluate players when they're playing for teams that are just not working out for them. And that's clearly been the Miami Dolphins. It's just not clear. I should have said this in my Tyreek Hill video as well, the New England Patriots. I just don't know what to make of it. Any team that played for the Patriots last year, the Dolphins last year, the Browns, any of these bottom barrel teams, I'm just like, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to make of you right now. I don't know how much I trust your coaching staff. I don't know how much I trust the players or, like what the direction you're going in, what culture you have. It's just too much of a mess. It really is. So it's like, if someone's unhappy in Miami, it's like, yeah, I can see why. It doesn't, like, what are you trying to work towards? What are you trying to accomplish? And so, yeah, to me, these are the hardest types of situations to evaluate, which is why, again, I first have that conversation with Sean McVay before I do any other due diligence, and then I want to try to talk to Jalen Ramsey and just get a feel for, like, what's the story here, right? Where are you at within your NFL career? You obviously know it's coming to an end. What do you want? And you got to get past the generic lip service. I'm just trying to compete, trying to be the best I can be, trying to win. It's just like try to really get to the reality of it all. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jalen Ramsey potentially being traded to the Rams, or that the Rams should trade for Jalen Ramsey? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.